Hey guys, my name is Justin and welcome to Hillsboro, where we care about the design behind designer luxury. And if you do too, make sure to subscribe. For today's video, we're coming to the end of the year. I think it's a good time for us to reflect on everything that happened so that we can, learn about this past year and grow and make ourselves better people. So to do that, I'm going to talk about other things. Let's not focus on ourselves right now, because... So I actually am really excited to talk about this topic, because I already did a video about collaboration burnout. There's been so many collaborations. It's like sensory overlord. It's like sensory overlord! Clear!
Or no, the condensation! Emma!
Or no, Clear, the sensory overlord! I don't know if that's an Australian accent. But yeah, it's like getting to the point where it's like, okay, we get it. There's a new collaboration, honestly, more than one typically per month. But then still, I wanted to talk about some of the more notable ones, good and bad. For me, these were the most I don't want to say exciting, because some of them were the opposite of that. But the most notable where I was just like, oh my god, why are we doing this? And then the others where I'm like, oh, beautiful, please, I wish I had a bajillion dollars that I could just spend it on that. So when I talk about these, I'm gonna kind of group them together so we can kind of compare and contrast. So for this first, category, I'm not really, these ones are very Fendi centric. So for Fendace, I think one thing to consider is that they did present themselves pretty much at the tail end of the hacker project between, Gucci, Balenciaga. That had a lot of hype because it was very different at the time, I think. And then following that, it almost felt like it just was poor timing. Not anything that Fendi or Versace could have controlled, but I almost feel like the way that the hacker project was presented, and then it was just interwoven very well with the Aria runway, which again was the 100-year anniversary of the house existing. It felt like there was just a lot of fanfare, there was a lot of hype. How viral that collection went really just overtakes where Fendace went. I can't speak to the quality specifically of pieces from that collection. I've only seen a few things, but for me it's more so the Fendace look is very specific, and maybe it's just a personal thing, but I don't really vibe with it. I think it's okay, if you love it, I'm really happy for you and I actually hope you got pieces from it. But for me, it's just not really my thing, so it kind of flew under the radar a bit. But then that leads into the winter collection that Fendi did in collaboration with Marc Jacobs. So part of that capsule was them basically reissuing bags that existed in the 90s. Baguette bags, obviously, but then more of their standout pieces, a lot of embroidery, beading, glitter, bejeweled things. And I think one of the really great things about that winter capsule is there was also a collaboration with Porter, which is a Japanese brand, for some of the men's pieces. There was also a collaboration with Tiffany. But for me, the most exciting part of it was Marc Jacobs. I also had a let's see about that runway. Who doesn't love a little micro bag with this ridiculousness? Her pockets can fit more than her bag. That's great. And then I kind of looked through the site. Even here you can see where one of the threads or something is coming loose. This is a product photo. I don't understand why they okayed this. This is crazy. I'll link those in the description or up in the corner or wherever. But aside from all of those issues that I had with it there, I still do think that in general, the way that that collection was presented, I think it was so genius. Using archival prints and patterns and colors and revamping them and really celebrating this bag that's a pop culture icon, I think is beautiful. And I think the fact that they ended the runway with Linda Evangelista, beautiful, amazing. Next up, I wanted to talk about a few collaborations that there's one specific athletic brand did with quite a few. I don't know, in terms of how many luxury houses exist, it's a lot. And that is Adidas. We saw Adidas on Gucci, Balenciaga, and Prada. I think more so there was a lot of hype when it came to Adidas being presented with Gucci and Balenciaga. Not necessarily in the same way that the Hacker Project or even Fendace happened, but just it was notable. They presented them on the runway, while Prada, I actually can't remember if they presented on the runway. I'm pretty sure they didn't, but they did have a collaboration. And for me, out of the three, the one I appreciated the most probably was the Prada with Adidas, because Prada, using a lot of technical fabrics, they use nylon a lot, in collaboration with Adidas, which uses a lot of technical fabrics. Something about it felt very seamless and it made a lot of sense, but then the other two just felt kind of like, and like, I know like in general it didn't receive that much hype. But for me, it's crazy that like Adidas partnered with these three luxury houses all in the same year. Like to me, that's like removing all of the excitement from it. It's not interesting anymore, like especially because I feel like they all kind of happened towards like the latter half of the year, at least when like things were released. I did like get to see like, you know, the presentation of Gucci Adidas in the Milan store. Like they completely redid one part of the store with like a beautiful carpet, and like they had a lot of like fanfare, and it was really great. And I actually remember like, since I made a purchase when I was there, I got to go in like through the back and I got to like wander around, touch things, and I tried some things on, but like wasn't really for me. But I remember like people were like knocking heavy on the door, being like, "Let us in!" And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. So then I like left right after that. I don't know why I told that story, but it was fun. But then for me, in general, no hate against Adidas, but because there were so many collaborations with them this year, it just felt very underwhelming. And then on the other side of that, you know, I know there's a lot of like Adidas haters. I'm not one of them, because I'm just, whatever. But the Jacquemus Nike collaboration, I thought was stunning. I know there's been some mixed reviews about quality of some of the pieces and the shoes and like, what is it actually bringing? Is it worth that much for the material to feel like this? But then you're getting this like interesting silhouette. You know, it's just like that kind of conversation happening over and over again. But in general, maybe it's just because I was also getting like burnt out from just seeing Adidas everywhere, seeing this like very like sensual take on Nike that Jacquemus offered, I thought was very interesting. Like when Adidas presented with them, they changed the style, made it like funky, whatever. But there's something about like taking Nike where like, I feel like Nike is a very like straightforward brand. They present exactly who they are. They're still like innovative and interesting, but in a very like straightforward way. There's something about that collaboration that like none of the pieces were for me, but I wish they were, if that makes sense. Like they were pieces that I would not wear, but I really desperately wish that I would wear them so that I could buy them and wear them and be cool. I don't know, it just feels a lot more cool. I don't know, I sound like a nerd, but like it felt a lot more cool than the Adidas collabs. But all right, and then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how there were a couple collaborations between luxury brands in Japanese animation this year. Anything can happen. I love it. I'm a huge nerd at heart. So seeing like Balmain and Pokémon having a collaboration, I was like so excited. I was like, oh, this is gonna be crazy. They're gonna make Pokemon sexy or whatever. And then you look at the collaboration, it's like, here's a $2,000 t-shirt or whatever with like Pikachu printed on it, or here's, you know, like a bag with a Pikachu on it. And like, for me, there was no thought behind it. It was literally just prints of everything on it. There was no craftsmanship, nothing exciting. It was very lackluster, I think. And I think the hype that came from it was the fact that it was Pokemon, but then as soon as like the pieces came out, I heard nothing. At least like from the circles that I saw. And for me, that's always like a bad sign. Honestly, that's all I have to say about it, because it really was just so lackluster. These pieces were so boring. They were so painfully boring. And then on the flip side, you have Loewe, Studio Ghibli, and then this time focused on Spirited Away. Spirited Away is one of my favorite animated movies. It's beautifully done. The story is amazing, and all of the like visuals from it, honestly, they're iconic. And the fact that they were able to, it's gonna sound bad, but like commercialize that and like really use this film's beauty in a way to create products that people want and still want. I think one of the reasons why there's such a huge gap between Balmain Pokémon and Loewe Studio Ghibli is that when you look at Loewe, they do things very responsibly, respectfully, and they put a lot of like heart, labor, and craftsmanship into whatever they do. I mean, I just saw a TikTok about people speaking to the Loewe Chinese ceramic collection that just came out, and the bags are beautiful, but they're like all just like one color, but then they all reference different types of like ceramics from China. And like the way that they thoughtfully like include packets that give you information, and they just do it in kind of like a respectful way. I think Loewe is an amazing brand to collaborate with because they take care in whatever they do. So for me, looking at the pieces of the Loewe Spirited Away collab, vast difference. You can see like they actually put thought into how to design sweaters, what kinds of textures and patterns do they want to have. It's not just slapping a print onto something, although there are some things that are just prints and some things are kind of slapped onto them, but then they at least try to add a little bit of a detail that makes it feel more special. And I think that's something that we have to celebrate. A lot of people know about Loewe, but like if we don't like celebrate the fact that they are doing things in this great way, like, I don't know, I just like, they need to keep doing what they're doing because they're doing it well. I mean, I think a lot of people recognize it, but then you ask like the layman and they're like, I don't know what that is. Is that like Louis Vuitton? I don't know, I'm just ranting now. And this last group of collaborations from this year that I wanted to talk about are kind of just like the weirdos, like the little leftover ones. It's not like a bad thing, but I just didn't know how to categorize these. So the first one that I wanted to talk about from this like the weirdo group is Burberry and Supreme. I think recently Supreme has kind of been falling off the wagon, you know, and like if you talk to like sneakerheads, hype beasts, whatever about it, there's definitely still like a lot of people that like it, but then since they transitioned ownership however many years ago, it's really just steadily declining. And that's kind of evident, at least for me, when it comes to the Burberry Supreme collaboration. Yes, it had a lot of hype. Yes, it was very like loud and out there. We saw like A-list celebrities wearing them. It sold out within however many like seconds or minutes or whatever. But then like if you look at it, it's literally just like, here, let's put the Supreme logo underneath or with the Burberry logo, and then that's just what it is. It's very similar to me how like Balmain Pokémon, how that one went. It was just kind of like, yeah, let's just mash it together and make some money. It feels very lazy and unexciting and not well thought through. So there's that for me. But then on the other side of like these kind of like random collabs, there was one I have to say something about because it's so bizarre, but Manolo Blahnik did a collaboration with Birkenstock. If you're from the US and like, or I guess even if you're not from the US and you know Birkenstock is this like kind of like crunchy granola hippie, loosey-goosey, very laid-back casual brand. And then Manolo Blahnik is very like, I don't know, fancy. So just like putting that extreme juxtaposition of these two brands together was just kind of insane. So if you look at some of like the clogs and the mules that they have, normally what's done like a suede or even just like a, you know, like a leather, doing it in like a velvet, something very plush and seen as like very luxurious, still offering that similar kind of like soft texture, like that fuzziness, but then replacing the normal hardware with these like insane bejeweled buckles, I think is so fun and so clever. Whoever's idea it was has a great sense of humor, and I am here for it. And the last one from this kind of like weird miscellaneous group I want to talk about is the Y Project and Jean-Paul Gaultier. This collaboration was so, or is, I guess it's technically going on still as of like the filming of this video, but like it's so interesting in like combining like the aesthetics of Jean-Paul Gaultier with like the structures of Y Project and vice versa. Just this weird mix. I don't think I can actually show the images of these items unless I like censor certain bits, because there's fully like weenie and boobs. The whole idea of this collaboration is just beautiful and the execution of it is great. I don't know, I don't have much to say about it other than like, I wish I could buy everything, but A, like half of it's already sold out. B, I don't know where I would even wear anything. And C, I'm kind of broke right now, so that's not gonna happen. But still, like, they're beautiful pieces, and you can see that there's actually not just like, we're just gonna stick like Jean-Paul Gaultier, the words on a shirt. I don't know, it's kind of impossible with that brand in a way. Granted, there are some things that say Jean-Paul Gaultier on it, but it's still more about like the treatment of it. But yeah, that is my kind of list of the most notable designer collaborations from 2022. Of course, we have a lot of winners and a few stinkers and some that are just kind of meh. And I didn't even scratch the surface on all of the collaborations that happened. I mean, there was like Balmain Barbie, Disney Givenchy, like countless others, honestly. But like, let me know what you guys think. Did I miss any? Like, I feel like I missed a big one, but I can't remember. So like, if you guys can think of one that you think I missed, let me know in the comments. But I don't know, just let me know what you guys think in general. I love hearing from you guys. But that is all I have for you today. So if you liked this video, make sure to like and subscribe. It lets me know that you like this kind of content and that you too care about the design behind designer luxury. Until next time. I think it's the second time I've done that. Or nuclear, the sensory overlord. Or nuclear. I don't know if that's an Australian accent.